Welcome to Triumph IAS. It's a daily mains practice question and answer series. This program is exclusively designed for UPSC CSE aspirants. In this video discussion, we will discuss UPSC CSE mains previous 25-year questions. Question number 1. Why was there a sudden spurt in famines in colonial India since the mid-18th century? Give reasons. Let's start with the introduction of the answer. To understand the drastic increase in famines in colonial India since the mid-18th century, one must first comprehend the economic and administrative changes brought about by the British colonization of the subcontinent. The impact of the colonial rule was not only political, but significantly affected the Indian economy, particularly the agrarian sector, leading to significant socio-political changes and disruptions, including frequent famines. The main body of the answer should be droughts, combined with British economic and administrative policies, periodically led to major Indian famines in colonial India like the Chalisa famine of 1783 to 1784, Agra famine of 1837 to 1838, Great famine of 1876 to 1878, and the Bengal famine of 1943. Colonial policies like levies for war, the expansion of export agriculture, neglect of agricultural investment, exponential tax rate, export ban, and one-way trade, poor investment in irrigation infrastructure, etc. was the reason for the increased frequency of famine since the mid-18th century in India. Export crops displaced millions of acres that could have been used for domestic subsistence and increased the vulnerability of Indians to food crisis. Conclusion of the answer. The famine of 1876 to 1878 caused a large migration of agricultural laborers and artisans from southern India to British colonies. It was the direct cause of investigations that led to the establishment of the Indian Famine Code. Question number 2. While the national political parties in India favor centralization, the regional parties are in favor of state autonomy. Comment. Let's start with the introduction of the answer. Federalism is one of the basis structures of our constitution, under which in normal circumstances powers have been divided between the center and state. This federalism has brought political unity, but emotional unity is yet to be achieved. The main body of the answer should be, in various circumstances center is more powerful than the state, that skewed up the relationship among union and state. Examples are centralization tendencies. Number 1. States have less financial autonomy and more dependency on the center for financial assistance apart from constitutional controls. Number 2. Center is resorting more towards ordinance route for making laws rather than doing the healthy discussions in the parliament. Number 3. Infringement in the area where states have some autonomy, especially in the area of residuary powers, state lists. Number 4. Use of Article 252 and 256, President rule, most often, and issuing of directives under the same. Number 5. Appoint of governors and misuse of the office of governor. Number 6. Power to make laws with respect to state lists also being taken by the center. Number 7. Provision of planning commission, quasi-federal nature and division of power are inclined towards centralization. Number 8. Center has started making schemes in the area of health too which may not fit for all the states. This creating a case of confrontational federalism rather than cooperative federalism. These are the reasons which are giving up thrust to the demand of state autonomy. Regional parties which are being seen mushrooming favor state autonomy because, number 1. National parties are less vocal about local issues. Number 2. Most often national parties try to weaken the state party aspirations and create factionalism. Number 3. For the development of the local regions. Conclusion of the answer. Thus, a rise of regional parties not only changing the face of federalism from cooperative to confrontational and competitive, but it will going to change the political representation in the lower houses too, which will going to help in constructive development of polity as well as the country. Question number 3. Do you think India will meet 50% of its energy needs from renewable energy by 2030? Justify your answer. How will the shift of subsidies from fossil fuels to renewables help achieve the above objective? Explain. Let's start with the introduction of the answer. The most ambitious of the 5 targets is the country's aim to draw half of its energy requirement from renewable sources by 2030. Reaching that figure would mean a large enough expansion to replace coal for electricity, as well as petroleum fuels used in transport or cooking with renewable power. Coal, oil and natural gas account for 75% of energy use now. The main body of the answer should be number 1. The original renewables goal doesn't include large hydropower dams or nuclear plants, which would count toward non-fossil fuel sources. Those two already combine for 53 gigawatts, according to government data, with more projects already under construction. Number 2. India will reduce emissions intensity per unit of GDP by 45% by the end of the decade. Number 3. The country has made rapid progress in this area and policy makers have often spoken about surpassing the Paris target. The emissions intensity of India's economy has already come down by more than 24% from 2005 levels. Renewable power was calculated based on cost-plus method S, adding direct material cost, direct labor cost, and product overhead cost. This does not include environmental cost and shields the ecological benefits of clean and green energy. Subsidies are adequately provided to conventional fossil fuels, sending the wrong impression that power from conventional fuels is of a higher priority than that from renewables. Unfair structure of subsidies. Number 1. There is no adequate supply of land for wind, solar, and solar thermal power plants, which lead to poor capacity addition in many states. Conclusion of the answer. The renewable sector suffers notable obstacles. Some of them are inherent in every renewable technology, others are the outcome of a skewed regulative structure and marketplace.